So I've gotten really tired of dealing with the imperial system of measurement, and so I had to do this anyway. And so I'm going to write a kombucha class. So this is just basically me recording a kombucha recipe, but I'm going to use objects to do it, so I thought maybe that it would be a useful example for the course. The kombucha recipe is courtesy of Lana, so thank you, Lana, for the kombucha recipe. So first things first, I'm defining a kombucha class that is probably a bit of overkill, right? Like, really, this could just be a function, but what the hell, right? It's the object chapter, so I may as well use an object. Okay, so, oops, the way I do that is by saying class, and normally this should be capitalized, so this is going to be the kombucha class. And the kombucha class needs a initializer. So the properties that I'm going to have are, I'm going to have cups of water, cups of sugar, number of tea bags. And so that's me looking to define the double underscore init method, double underscore, and that's going to take an argument of self. And then these are the properties that I intend to define. And it's whining because that was supposed to be indented. So I just tab everything over. Okay, so my properties. Cups of water. That's going to be a self.water cups. And I'm going to start that at 0. Because I haven't said yet how much to make. And cups of sugar, I'm going to say self.sugar cups, also equal to 0 at the outset. And number of tea bags, self.tea bags. I guess tea bags is all one word. Tea bags? Sure. Is 0. Okay, so that's my initialize method. It just has these 3 properties. We declare them. Great. Okay. Now, I have 2 methods that I'm going to want to make for this thing. One is the desired amount in gallons converted to recipe amounts. Okay, so that's going to be def, and I'm going to call that gallons to kombucha. And that's going to take an argument of self. And let's see, so to fill this in, and this is the thing that was really annoying me, is that I can never remember how many gallons or cups are in a gallon. Pretty sure it's 16? 16. Okay. Oh, also this is going to take an argument of gallons. So, there are 16 cups in a gallon. Okay, and this is a little, I'm ballparking this. This is going to be a little bit off because when you pour a cup of sugar into several cups of water, I think you get slightly more than several cups of sugar water. But whatever. Okay, so self.water cups is going to equal 16 times gallons. So I am just naively assuming that when I say I want a gallon of kombucha, that means I should use 16 cups of water. It's probably a little less, but again, whatevs. Okay. And then self.sugar cups should be, let's see, so I kind of want self.water cups divided by 4, right? Because it's 1 cup of sugar for every 4 cups of water. And then I need to round up, because I would prefer this to be sweeter rather than less sweet. Like, I think rounding up is my right idea here. So if you want to round up, you can do that a couple of different ways. The easy way is to import, oops, let's do from math import ceiling. Why was it? It was suggesting something. Oh, come on. All right. So I think that imported the ceiling function. We probably have to check that, I guess. Return the ceiling of x as an integral. As a mathematician, I really wish that they wouldn't use the word integral there, but as an integer, sure. Okay. And for teabags, that makes even more sense. And that seems nuts. Am I really using a teabag for every 2 cups of water? What did I make last time? That seems so crazy. I'm gonna make this every 3 cups of water because that seems insane. Yeah, because I think yeah. Okay. And again, this should be a ceiling of self.water cups divided by 3 now. Does that seem... Okay, I'm gonna have to test that because I don't really buy into. I think that might be wrong. This teabag count might be way wrong. Okay, and then I need a print recipe function, so that's just gonna be def recipe of self is gonna be printing, and here we're gonna print several things. So we're going to use formatted strings for these. How about use self, oops, that needs to be in these guys, in braces. So I need to use self.water cups of water. And then we can kind of copy that and say self.sugar cups of sugar and tea bags. And you'll note I haven't recorded how many gallons there are, right? So, yeah, so I haven't recorded. Okay, now if I press run on this thing, what do I actually expect to happen right now? I'm hoping in your head nothing is what you're saying. So I don't have any syntax errors, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything because I didn't ask it to do anything, right? So I probably should ask it to do something. So I might say something like, while 1 equals 1, right? So this is gonna force the program to just continually loop. And I'm gonna say user amount is input of asking how much kombucha do you want to make? And then how, not much, how many gallons of kombucha do you want to make? And then we need to do something like, okay, so we got this user amount, that should be a number. We need to do a little input validation. So we say something like, if user amount dot is numeric, and remember that thing just checks whether everything they entered was a number, right? So, and returns a Boolean, I think. Come on, tell me about this. Okay, fine. Let me just confirm that quick. Oops. And of course, that's a relatively common. Okay. Okay, looks like it returns a Boolean. That's good. I can use it as just a straight conditional then by itself. So if user amount is numeric, right? So if they entered all numbers, then what we want to do is we want to call the gallons to kombucha method. Oh, but we didn't make a kombucha recipe. So Lana will like this name. Booch is a kombucha, like so. And then if they give us a numeric answer, then what we can do is say booch dot gallons to kombucha of user amount. And now this isn't going to work because user amount is a string, right? And I'm trying to force it into something that expects a number. So I think I want int to typecast it, right? So I'm going to force this user's input to be thought of as a number and then pass it along to the gallons function. And then we'll call booch dot, oops, that's not how you spell booch. Call booch dot recipe. And then in otherwise, right, so if their user's input wasn't numeric, we'll say print, right, and we'll print out, please enter a numeric value. And then because of the while loop, it's gonna loop back around to this, right, and ask how many gallons you want again right away. So so I don't need to add that to this part because it's going to get asked again right away. Oh, and I need a new line on the end of that. Okay, so let's try this, see if it works. How many gallons of kombucha do I want to make? 2. I should use 32 of water, 8 of sugar, and 11 tea bags. That seems totally insane because it doesn't have any units on it. So that's just string formatting, right? Cups of water, cups of sugar, and tea bags. Okay, and you'll notice this is still running, right? So if I want it to actually use new code, I need to stop it and hit run again. So say I wanted to make 3. 48 cups of water, 12 cups of sugar. How about if I wanted to make 1? 16 cups of water, 4 cups of sugar, 6 tea bags. Oh, actually the tea bag amount seems okay. What if I wanted to make like 0.25. So I used the isNumeric method, right? And that is not going to work for 0.25 gallons, which is frustrating to me because I am going to want to figure out how to make 1.5 gallons of kombucha. So I need a different user value. So I think what I want to do is a try, right? So we're going to try integerizing this, or not integerizing, we need to try floating this number. And remember, a try block is try, right? And then code, and then instead of else, use except. Oops, ifloat is not a thing. Float is a thing. Okay, so we're going to try to cast it to a float, and then we're going to try to, oops. Try amount is float of this, and then we'll just calculate this based on the amount. Okay, so I'm trying to typecast it into a float, store that in a new variable called amount, and then I'm trying to convert that to or feed that into the gallons of kombucha recipe, and then feed that into and then call the recipe function on this. This is really a bit of overkill, right? This was really like making this an object instead of just making one little function was probably dumb, but I know you have an assignment to do related to this, so I thought maybe it would be useful. So say I wanted to make a gallon and a half. I use 24 cups of water, 6 cups of sugar, and 8 tea bags. Why is it 24.0? That's because it's a float times an int, which gives you a float, right? That's from right here. So that's the self-dot water cups is a float right now. So say I just went to, I'm just going to round that up again. Rounding up is not always the best choice, but in this case it is. Okay, at least. Oh, and really I suppose I shouldn't allow the user to make negative gallons of kombucha, but whatevs. So if I want to make 1.5, I need 24 cups of water, 6 cups of sugar, and 8 tea bags. I think that maybe dividing by 2 was preferable. This should make way more tea bags. Okay, that seems... That's probably still overkill. I'm going to go with 3. I'm going to try this. That might not be the right amount. Oops, shit. Bad. No. Bad no. Okay, so while I'm waiting for my repel to load, I suppose... Great. Okay. Okay. So, last things last, comments. So I have my kombucha class. Okay. I have kind of comments here. Ceilings are to round up and integerize. Printing recipe, okay, sure. Okay, so make a kombucha object, right? And then we have loop continuously. And that's a nice trick for making games and stuff, right? You just always want them to loop, or maybe instead of while 1 equals 1, you use like while game is not over or some similar kind of thing. Oops. Solicit some user input. And then the try and accept block, that seems pretty obvious. That's a pretty obvious typecast. Those are pretty obvious methods. Really, the recipe method is probably named kind of... If that was named print recipe, then maybe I wouldn't need to comment this. So let me rename it. P.S. Good naming schemes save tons of comments. The accept seems fine. Okay, so this doesn't really need much in the way of comments. All right, so let's just run and say we want a gallon, 16 cups of water. Okay, what if I want a half a gallon? 8 cups of water. Yeah, that seems about right. I still wonder if this teabag number isn't just a little low. Okay, cool. Yeah, so remember, right? Initialize, that's where your properties go. They need to be set to something. And then methods in here. And I like to have each method be kind of an independent thought. So I have kind of, and really, I could have put this stuff into the initialize method, which is another way of doing this, right? So you might say, okay, look, man, you don't have kombucha until you have this gallons of kombucha method. I was thinking that maybe I would want to add a method later to convert like cups to kombucha or quarts to kombucha or jars to kombucha or something. So in that case, I would need other different ways to make a kombucha. So I didn't want to put this in the init method because then I'd be stuck using gallons. Okay.